the second game of the league that we were supporting, and the young person in question actually went in for a tackle. It was a pretty bad tackle. He broke his fibula and tibula below the knee, clean snap, and was on the floor, fell on the floor sideways in a recovery position, so luckily we didn't have to move him. But it did mean that he was exposed. He was out on a 3G pitch, it was raining, it was cold, and he was in a lot of pain. We 100% knew it had been a leg break. I can't explain it to you, but the impact, the crack that it made was heard around all three pitches. It's something you can't really get out of your head. So we knew it was a break. We knew by the fact that trying to walk on it, and I mean the only way I can explain it, which probably isn't the best way, but you know in Harry Potter when all of the bones are taken out of his arm and his arm is just, that's how his leg was. And yeah, I made my first 999 call at about 10 to 9. He'd tried to get up and fallen back to the floor on his, basically in the recovery position, so luckily we didn't have to move him. We had taken coats from all the players that we had, so he had about 8 or 9 coats on top of him. We were trying to talk to him, keep him engaged with us so that he didn't lose consciousness. He was in a lot of pain, joking initially, but as time went on, we were looking at about half an hour. By this point, we'd done everything. I was regularly checking his chest to see whether his temperature was changing. We'd gone and got an umbrella to shield him from the rain that was literally pouring down, and basically had either a young person or a staff member with him at all times so that we could keep talking to him. At the same time as everything that was going on with him, we had to monitor the situations of other young people that were clearly very worried, but all their coats were on top of him, car keys were in it, so we didn't want to risk moving him and coats until we had medical assistance. For me, it was fine until it got to about the half an hour point when he was really, really struggling to actually respond to us. It would take sort of 30 seconds to a minute just to get a basic response. He couldn't stop shivering. No matter how many coats we had or how many people we had around to shield him, nothing seemed to be really making all that big an impact. By which point I called 999 again because I just felt he'd been waiting for half an hour in the cold, in the rain, in a lot of pain, and was vigorously shivering to the point that nothing was warming him anymore. The first response unit turned up, I think, within about 10 minutes of me making my second call. He apologised. He said he'd been in the middle of town delivering a baby. The first response guy got straight in with trying to give him anti-sickness, monitoring his blood. He started cutting off his trousers, which then set off the whole how much pain he was in again. I think he'd got into a state where he'd kind of just ignored the pain, and now that he was being moved, at times we were having to hold him down to stop him trying to stand on it and to stop him looking at it. The minute he looked at it, he was sick. But the first response guy was very good. He spoke to him all the time, letting him know what he was doing. I think the main thing was because he'd been out in the cold for so long, they couldn't actually get any of the medication through the back of his hand. They had to roll up his sleeve and put it through his elbow joint, which the paramedic at the time had said his hands are too cold for me to actually find a vein, which was, again, another highlight of how bad the situation could have been. I obviously appreciate that the ambulance service are very busy, but at this point in time, being the key, not guardian, but key person responsible for this young person, I was panicking a little bit because I was starting to think that this is going to be a worst case scenario. We have no idea the level of injury he's done to his leg. He wouldn't let us look at his leg. He wouldn't move his hands from his leg. We had no idea whether he was bleeding. It just became a case of all colour had drained from his face, and I just wanted him to have help. I wanted him to be somewhere safe with some pain relief, which is, unfortunately, we couldn't provide any of that.